Hi everyone, this is Jeff Galloway from Calgary, Canada, doing a Safecoin update here. It's long overdue. We're about to hit our third New Year's for the Safecoin project. Now, depending on what time zone you're in, that's coming up pretty quick, and wanted to give everybody a clearer view as to where we're headed before 2021 hits. I know a lot of you can't wait for 2021. We know it's going to be a better year than 2020. Oh, it better be. Both for our project and just generally for the whole world. Everybody could use a great year, and it's certainly looking that way for crypto. So quite excited about that. Quite excited about what we can do for safety, security, and privacy. It's been amazing. We have, over the last 3 years, through a tremendous amount of work from many people, put together one of the world's largest distributed ledgers of people focused on safety and security and privacy. And I'm just so proud of that and proud of everybody involved. I can't thank you guys enough for everything that's being put into this, all the passion you've put in, all the talent, all the skills that have been put in to make our project what it is. So we are just beginning to, we have a lot more in store, and that's kind of what this is about. We have, over the last 2.5 months, gone unusually quiet for our project. We are kind of known as one of the harder working projects. And we've gone quiet. And what happened? You can tell even just looking at our GitHub, where we were doing a lot of active development, and they kind of dropped off. About 2.5 months ago, we started to look at our 2021 and beyond roadmap. Decided we need to do a new roadmap. Now, when we're doing this, we're looking through the whole crypto landscape. Our whole team is kind of looking through, seeing where things are headed. And, we could tell that there's been sort of an explosion in the industry. There's been a number of disruptive technologies that have entered the space. A lot of people have seen Uniswap, for instance, and a number of other really cool blockchains and developments which have really changed things. Now for us, first thing we do is we look at our existing roadmap, of course, and we see what have we done, what have we not done. Well, we've made SafePay, we've made SafeTrade, we've done SafeChat, we've done OBFS4, various privacy improvements, and safe nodes, of course. We did effectively fix proof of work and arguably fix DPoW itself. I don't know if we'll ever get credit for that, but we did, and I'm quite sure about it. If you want a decentralized DPoW, which isn't hierarchical and follows the ethics of blockchain, then that's us. But there was one thing in particular that really stood out, which was not completed on our roadmap. It was one of the only things not completed on our roadmap. It was Decentralized Exchange. Now, when we announced that we were going to do a Decentralized Exchange way back in early 2018, we were one of the first projects to suggest doing this with any kind of integration, with any kind of liquidity sharing, these sorts of things. We were going to have it integrate with SafeTrade at the time. And we were going to fork BarterDEX, basically, and then approve on that, do some integrations, and work from there. We were very ahead of our time, much more ahead than we realized. And after we made our announcement, almost every project I can think of within 6 months made the same announcement and said they were going to do it too. And from what I could tell, none of them have succeeded in doing that yet. Some of them have actually made some progress. Most of them literally didn't do anything. Now, that's a sticking point for us. I believe that decentralized exchanges, decentralized finance is very important for where blockchain technology is heading. And it does bother me that we weren't able to put out a decentralized exchange yet. So we spent some time to look at that. Why, with everything we've accomplished, why were we not able to accomplish that? And we looked at our original plan, which was to fork BarterDEX, which is now AtomicDEX, and then make those improvements to it. Now, at the time, in 2018, BarterDEX was probably the leader in decentralized exchanges, just in terms of pure atomic swaps. They weren't as decentralized as people realized, but they did do some of the things right. Just the pure transfer of funds from one chain to another. They really did do that in a way that nobody else has done it, and a lot of credit goes to them. At the time, when we forked Komodo, they were $1 billion project. $1 billion project. And they had all the best stuff, all the best technology, all the best people, all the best development. And we were sure when we forked them that this was a project which was a leader in the space, an absolute leader, especially for security and privacy. And decentralized exchanges. Flash forward to now, me and myself and my team looked at it and said, well, should we finish off the roadmap and fork AtomicDEX or BarterDEX? And full credit to Komodo. They're a great organization, and they're going to continue to improve. They're going to be leaders again, but they're going to go through a rough patch first. We all kind of see that just from the technology alone. No, you don't fork AtomicDEX anymore. You just don't. Now, we don't need to really get into that. You just don't. That's not where things are headed. They may head there at a later date and time, or AtomicDEX may make some changes. I mean, one of the biggest things, for instance, is that we really wanted our DEX to be on top of the Safecoin blockchain, to run on top of the Safecoin blockchain. And AtomicDEX doesn't do that. It does not run on top of a blockchain, really. It's sort of decentralized. It's not that decentralized. It has a lot of great things, as I mentioned earlier. Like, it really, really does. It really, really does. But nope. You look at that, and you look at things like Uniswap coming out, and by the way, Uniswap's not perfect either. Uniswap, I would not call Uniswap completely decentralized either. Definitely, it has some lag times. It's got some front running. It's got some funny things going on, but it's pretty great. It really is overall, and you can't. We just tried to look at it with fresh eyes and be like, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. And we decided that, our original plan of forking AtomicDEX just didn't make sense. But the idea of getting into a decentralized exchange and decentralized finance does make sense, and that we were simply too far ahead of our time in 2018 to put out an effective product. We feel now that it is possible to put out a product that is a leader in the space, that is effective, that will get uptake. But not necessarily on the Komodo chain. Now, yeah, I am very thankful for Komodo's technology. It's benefited us a lot, and there's actually really nobody more than me has been rooting for them more over the last 3 years. We did really invest all of our time and effort on their technology. That's really what we built everything on. And yeah, we did make some things better, most notably the safe nodes. I mean, we won't get into it too much, but the safe nodes are just considerably more decentralized and less hierarchical, and just they're more blockchainish than what Komodo does. We did make our contributions. Whether those are used by other chains or not is another matter. But we've made the space better, and we had to ask the question, because this is a lot of effort and time we put in. We had to ask the question, if we were going to start a project in 2021 based off safety and security, where we intended to be leaders in the space, absolute leaders in the space, and of course put out a decentralized exchange also on top of a highly secure blockchain, which is the only kind of decentralized exchange which should exist, by the way. We wouldn't do it on Komodo. We just wouldn't fork Komodo to do that anymore. Like, if we're looking at what is the most secure and most private blockchain in 2021, yeah, in 2018 it was Komodo. It really was. 2021, it's not. And we need to be honest with ourselves and address that problem, because it's not acceptable to be anything less than leaders in this space. Now, we first realized there could be a problem when Komodo started attacking us in 2018. And firstly, I'd like to say that I've learned some things. If I'm going to do a fork or use somebody else's code now, there's nothing wrong with what I did then, but there's better ways. There's better ways of doing a friendly fork, of being more cooperative. I'd like to take some learnings from that going forward. But at the end of the day, how Komodo handled that in 2018 with some of their attacks and retaliation, that was our first indication that they might not be ready to be a billion-dollar blockchain like we thought they were. And that was very worrying to me. It wasn't the attacks on us that worried me. It was that they would basically put 90% of their development resources for weeks or months into fighting with us when they were worth $1 billion and should have been developing their product, developing the space. It was a red flag. We continued on. Now, 3 years later, it's evident to everybody that at that time they were not ready to be a $1 billion blockchain. Will they be in the future? I think so. I really do. I think, they've got to get through some rough patches here. But I still believe in them. I really do. I believe in their ability to disrupt the space with new ingenuity, and I think we'll see it from them again. But at the moment, we are looking at how we remain leaders in the space. And in order to do that, we have to be very honest with ourselves and do a lot of research and do a lot of blank slate thinking and build this up. So after an incredible amount of research over the last 2.5 months, an incredible amount of work, we have come to the conclusion that, number one, Decentralized Exchange is still on our roadmap. Is it going to look like AtomicDEX? Probably not. Is it going to look like Uniswap? We hope it's going to look a lot better than Uniswap. We hope it's going to be a lot faster than Uniswap. We want it to have far more scalability than Uniswap, and we want it to have lower fees than Uniswap. But in order for that to happen, we need to go back to the blockchain itself, right? Because we want this to run on top of a blockchain. We want this to show what Safecoin can do. And in order to achieve that, we need something different than the code we have now. We really do. There's just been so much advancement in the space. There's no getting around it. So I'll start off with the really good news that in our 2021 roadmap, which we'll be releasing soon, Decentralized Exchange is still on there. Now, we're going to do a lot of things differently. Definitely, we want to work with other projects. And definitely, for instance, the Varus project has done an incredible amount of work on liquidity provision finding solutions to front running and decentralized order matching, which is really, really impressive stuff. The ability to transfer on a level 1 blockchain currency from one place to another in a way that's very, very hard to take advantage of. So if there's ways we can integrate with them, we're going to. There's ways we can integrate with any blockchain that we can build a good relationship, we're going to. Because at the end of the day, it's about putting out something which advances the space. And it's not about who did it, it's about that it got done. So we're going to get it done. And when we look at that, so that's the good news. Yeah, that's going to be on the roadmap. We're looking at a swap. Safecoin's going to have to do a swap. Now, we've done an incredible amount of work on new technologies in the space, and we're very up to date with recent developments. And man, there's been an explosion in the industry for sure. The technology has advanced incredibly. So we are going to be changing our upstream repo. We're going to be putting out new code, completely rewritten code, only the best, only the most recent technology. And we will have a very, very, very scalable blockchain with very, very short finality. And when I say short finality, that's another way of saying double spend proof, but more. So finality is when you know that a blockchain is considered, a transaction is considered final on a blockchain. It can be a loose term. I don't like to think of it. Final should be final, as in double spend proof, final. So, for instance, on Safecoin right now, that can be between 10 and 15 minutes, which is actually very, very good for a project our size. Considering the hash power we have, to have finality between 10 and 15 minutes is incredible and way ahead of most of our competitors. We're going to get that down to almost instantaneous. So in the time it takes you to speak a sentence, it's going to be final. The transaction is going to be final. It's going to be double spend proof. It's going to be done. That's the only way this stuff's going to get adoption. And that's not something we're going to work towards. That's something that we're going to release on day one. So when we switch chains, that's how it's going to start. It's going to start with near instantaneous final transactions with TPS rates beyond anything that we talk about now. It's going to be a lot of work, but that's what it's going to come out with. Now, if you look at for instance, Komodo, they do have some high TPS rates that they advertise, and they do that largely by spinning up lots of asset chains. I think it was a good approach, actually. It was a good approach. It was sort of like, I don't know, like those first few baby steps towards sharding, you could say, but not the full leap by any means. Like, there's still a good hike to reach the goal, and it's something where it's just easier, far easier for us to start fresh, and write our own solutions with into modern code to get a solution where it just comes out working. So we want to have TPS rates beyond what MasterCard or Visa have. We want to be faster than MasterCard or Visa when we launch our new chain. And by faster, I mean faster finality, I mean higher TPS rates, more scalability. But at the same time, we don't want to do that by sacrificing centralization or decentralization. We want to be very, very clearly decentralized. We already do have one of the world's largest decentralized ledgers of people who really, really care about this stuff, who care about security, who care about privacy. And we're going to use that to make this work. So yeah, I'm kind of hinting at a variant of proof of stake, shall we say. It's going to be a different system for sure. It's going to be a very fast system. It's going to be a very scalable system. We want this to be able to be a solution that works for businesses, can work for the whole world, that can scale up. And we don't have to say, oh, in a couple of years we'll get it scaled. No. We're going to be there in January. Now, a little bit about how we're going to do that. Obviously, you get into discussions about level 1 and level 2, and then you get into discussions about smart contracts. So level 2, you're thinking of the Bitcoin Lightning Network, for instance, or things like that. Then you get the smart contracts. Now, we do have smart contracts now, but I'm talking about modern smart contracts that are scriptable and don't have to have each contract hard-coded into the chain. These are going to be modern smart contracts that actually work, that are fun to code, that are secure, and that are well tested. So very, very, very different. It's going to be something where anybody in our community can write their own smart contract, and it's going to work for them. It's going to work better than on any other chain. So we're really, really excited about some of this coming out, and our focus to start off with will be actually putting out just a fantastic level 1 blockchain. Just get the level 1 right. We're big believers here in foundations, and like the foundation, get your foundation right. And that is, of course, our whole brand, because the number one thing you want to do is security. You want to have a highly secure blockchain before you do anything else. And if you do, if you get the security levels you need, then things like scaling and speed are possible. Things like smart contracts, all of a sudden they run properly because you got your first step right. So we're focusing on level 1 still, but it's going to be a very different level 1 blockchain than what we're used to. And definitely we're going to be also looking at level 2. And it's going to come out also with smart contracts on day 1. So when we launch, there's going to be live smart contracts. End of discussion. No waiting. No, this is on the roadmap for later, or we think it'll work well with smart contracts in the future. We're going to have cutting edge smart contracts when we launch the new chain. And they're going to be fantastic. So the bad news is that in order to achieve this, we're doing a swap. We're doing a swap. Now, it's not necessarily bad news, but it's work. We're asking on the community, on everybody, and on our team to help with this. Basically, we need to do a one-to-one swap over a period of 30 to 90 days. So we need to decide it's going to be more than 30 days. It's going to be less than 90 days. And there'll be an expiry period past that where you will no longer be able to switch your Safecoin. If you still have Safecoin after 90 days from the announcement, this isn't the announcement, by the way, this is just a conversation. It's a public conversation, but if you go past the expiry and you haven't swapped your Safecoins, then you are stuck with your Safecoin Classic, and that's what it'll be at that point. It'll be a Safecoin Classic. And you still got your chain, and you can welcome to take over a whole new community with that chain. But the Safecoin that's going to be a game changer for the future, that's going to lead the world in security and safety and usefulness, you'd be out of luck. And when that happens, because that is going to happen, people are going to come to me, and I'm going to refer them to this video, which is being put out in 2020. We're an altcoin. We're a very small project at this time. We need people to stay involved. If you leave for years at a time, for instance, or quarters at a time, and you pay no attention to the project, and you don't use email, or anything else, because I mean, we're going to do everything we can to notify everyone, then, you know, this can happen. Now, you know, if we were Bitcoin size, no, we would never do something like that. But we are a small project and we cannot sit and wait forever to advance. It's not acceptable to us to be anything less than leaders in the space. So this is a move we have to make. And I encourage you to let anybody know who holds Safecoin or that you think should be involved in the project. This is a very good time. So it's going to be a transition for sure, and it's going to kind of roll out. You're going to see some announcements in early January. So January time period is we really like before. My personal goal, I'm going to call it my personal goal, not a promise, is that we're going to see this new chain launch in January. And the swap will, of course, be somewhere between 30 and 90 days from that point. And we'll continue to support Safecoin, which will become the old Safecoin Classic, until the swap is completed at least, and allow that chain to continue if anybody wants to take it over. And in the meantime, we will continue with our new chain and focus on what we can with that. Now, one thing I haven't talked about is privacy. Privacy is also going to be very, very important in our new chain, in our new project, in our new roadmap. If you look, it's going to be different though. It's going to be different. Something that's going to come up in the coming years is scalable privacy. Privacy for everybody, not just privacy enthusiasts. Privacy by default, sure, in some cases. We want transparency as well. We want governments involved. You need transparency. We want charities involved. We want things to happen that, I mean, transparency is just as important in privacy. You need them both, and we're going to have both on this chain. But when you look at the privacy competitions that exist now, like who has the largest pool of privacy transactions? No, that's not what we're going to be doing. No, because I mean, if you like the whole privacy, who's got the largest pool or who's mixing it the most, if you need to mix it, if you need to hide it in a bunch of other transactions, that's basically saying your privacy doesn't work. Let's be honest, we're looking for scalable solutions. So, sorry, I had to say that. We're not going to do that kind of privacy where it's like a game of peekaboo, or if it's really advanced, like very advanced mixing or hiding, then you could call it maybe a game of hide and go seek. That's not what we're looking at. I believe that in the future, almost every chain will be, every large chain will have a piece of privacy to it. I know that's not the way regulators see it now, but you know, not a lot of regulators are great at technology, so there's sometimes a gap. There's a lag before they understand. Bitcoin just released Taproot. Now, when that goes live, in many ways, Bitcoin will have more privacy than any other coin out there, including Zcash, just in terms of what they can do, because it's not just about doing one private transaction to another private transaction. It's about being able to set up a business process with a permissioned business process where parts of that business process or the entire business process is private. That's privacy. And they're setting up things now for their smart contracts in the future. And by the way, we don't have time for that. Like, Bitcoin has many years to go before they get there, but they're already laying the foundations so that Bitcoin will have literally more privacy than anything else we're dealing with now. And it's going to be scalable privacy. And that's what we're working on now. We're working on solutions for scalable privacy. Those don't necessarily happen on level 1. Those don't necessarily happen strictly at a blockchain level. They can happen in a smart contract. They can happen on level 2. There's different ways of doing that. So we're going to be talking a little bit more about that soon. Now I've kind of reached the half-hour mark, and I've kind of laid out where we're headed. Bottom line, we're going to see a swap. Emissions are not going to change. Max supply probably will, because many people have lost their coins over the years. So you can expect that the amount of Safecoin in circulation is going to drop substantially after this swap. If it wasn't already scarce now, it'll be more scarce after. And also, we're going to be issuing a new roadmap, which will include a DEX. I would like to see that DEX come out in Q1 of 2021. I am not going to promise that. I believe we can say something like the first half of 2021. We're going to put out a DEX which can compete with any other DEX. And we've been working on this for quite some time. I've been very, very quiet about it until we're confident enough to come forward with it. And I just want to leave you guys with that on the end of a very, very weird year, and wish all of you the very, very best for 2021. Thanks everyone, and stay safe.